Hey friends, welcome back to Mustard Seed Homesteading. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Megan and I'm so glad that you stopped by today because what we're going to do is plant our fall potatoes in our green stalks, and I want to share with you all how I do that from start to finish. So let's get started. All right friends, before we get started, I do want to show you everything that I'm going to be using, as well as the seed potatoes that I'm going to be using to plant into the green stalks. So the first thing I want to show you is fertilizer. Now, I did purchase this from a company called Wood Prairie Family Farm. You don't have to purchase fertilizer from them. The reason I bought this large bag and another fertilizer from them is because I purchased a bunch of seed potato from them in the past. More recently, in this last year, I have been buying organic seed potatoes from the store. I'm finding a little bit more success with those, and I'll show those to you in a minute. But this is higher in nitrogen. There's 11% nitrogen. The phosphate is 0.7% and the soluble potash is 1%. Now you could, like I said, you can purchase a fertilizer anywhere. You don't have to have this one, but I do like to start off with this because it's higher in nitrogen and I'm trying to encourage the leafy greens. Now the other fertilizer, let me put this down. The other fertilizer that they have is their organic, so it's just an organic, and they are organic fertilizers, but this one is not as high as in nitrogen. This is 4% nitrogen, 2% phosphate, and 6% potash. So what I'll probably do is put this in there, work it in the soil halfway through. Now I might put this in like a gallon jug and let it sit and kind of form like a liquid fertilizer, or I might just sprinkle it into the soil. I'm not really sure yet, but these are the two fertilizers that I use when I'm planting my potatoes. And of course, once I run out of this, there's another one that I want to try on Amazon. I can't think of the name. So either way, this is really good, or like I said, you can always purchase another fertilizer somewhere else. Now, when it comes to seed potatoes, as I said a little bit ago, I have purchased organic seed potatoes from the company I just mentioned right now, and I've also purchased some recently from MI Gardener. I love to support companies when it comes to buying seeds, seed potatoes, onion starts, garlic bulbs, but I have found, because potatoes is just one of those things, you guys, that I really want to master at growing, whether in the green stalks or in bags. I want to try all methods, and I want to get very successful at growing a good amount of potatoes. And so I switched to store-bought potatoes recently, and I just noticed they did better for me. Not sure why, but they did. Now, this, as you can see, I let them sprout really large, and I found that when I did that, this last season, so for the springtime when I did my fall planting, they did exceptionally well, especially in the green stalk. So I have two green stalks that are designated, I'll show you in just a second. They're designated for potatoes only. Whoop, look at that, thought it was gonna fall. They're designated for potatoes only, and I'll show you why in just a second, why I do that. But when I planted the store-bought potatoes in there, and I just put one in each pocket, guys, I almost harvested shy of 20 pounds of potatoes, which is the most that I've ever harvested out of my green stalks. And I think it's because I let them sprout like this. I also keep the soil in there as healthy as possible, and I'll explain a little bit more of what I do as I go on in the video. And I just think that, you know, doing those few things is what helped me harvest or get a lot of potatoes from just two green stalks. All right, friends, so here's the green stalk that I've designated for potatoes, and here's the reason why I've designated these for potatoes. So I clearly did not get all the potatoes out because I have a few pockets that I have potato plants that are growing out of. And so those are one of the reasons why I have designated my green stalks for potatoes. And then also too, just because if I were to plant other things in here and they were producing a lot of food for me, I would hate to have to pull them out if I was hoping to plant my potatoes in there. So I went ahead and designated two green stalks for potatoes only. Now the green stalks that I use, you can see right here, I'm just going to move you along so you can see that. I use the original, which is 10 inches deep, which it allows for the potato to grow. And I've had really good success using these Greenstalks. Now I'm going to quickly say that I am losing light, so hopefully I don't have to go into the garage. I'm going to show you how I plant the top tier so you can see, and then from there I'll just finish the rest because it was raining and storming earlier, and this seems to be the only time that I had available to film, and it just so happens to be just that little window of time from the early evening to when it starts to get dark outside. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the top tier, and we're going to plant some seed potatoes together. All right, friends, I was able to get my camera up here, so this is perfect for me to show you exactly how I plant my potatoes and what I do. So I do want to reiterate to you, let's see if I get my face in here. Okay, I do want to reiterate to you that I straw all of my Greenstalks, and the reason for that, and I'm going to show you here because we did have some rain today, so this is a really good example. If you can see how beautiful this soil is, it's moist, it is not dry, it is not brittle, and it is very healthy. And this is exactly why I straw everything, and it's exactly why I straw my Greenstalks. Now I don't do a heavy, you know, super thick layer of straw because you do want the water to penetrate in there, but it does protect the soil so that when I'm ready to plant my potatoes, now I don't have to, you know, I don't have to do anything. It's already ready to go. Now, obviously you can see that I still have space for soil here, but because these are potatoes, I do not want to fill it up all the way. So what I'll do as these start to grow is I'll come around and either add straw, because you're technically supposed to hill potatoes, but in the Greenstalks, I just go ahead and add a little bit of soil or straw at the top. And this is what I found to be very successful for me in growing the potatoes in the Greenstalks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm pretty much just going to lift the straw back. I'm going to, because you're supposed to plant them about 2 inches deep, I'm just going to sprinkle some of the fertilizer in there, put my potato in there, and that's all I do, you guys, and then water it in, and it's that simple. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, friends, well, good thing for garages and lighting, I had to come in here because it was just getting a little too dark, and I wanted to make sure that you saw everything. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do this. It's really super simple, but I didn't want it to be too dark outside, so we are now in our garage. So as I was saying before, we're just gonna pull this back. We're gonna pull the straw back, and I'm just going to sprinkle in this fertilizer that I had showed you earlier. And I don't measure, you guys. I just put a little handful in each pocket just to make my life really simple, and it has worked for me. So let's go ahead and pull the straw back and add some fertilizer. I am curious, friends, do you guys plant fall potatoes? Do you only do spring? Do you do both? And I always love to ask what you guys do when you plant your potatoes. What's your favorite method of planting potatoes? Me personally, I love growing them in the Greenstalks. I love growing them in grow bags. I'm actually going to test out some of the potatoes in these tall grow bags that I purchased. I'll show them to you at the very end because I have a whole pack that I haven't even opened. And so I'm going to test them out in there as well. I do plan at some point, you guys, I do plan to make a designated bed for potatoes. I just haven't yet. Right now I'm trying to really get good at growing them in the Greenstalks and my grow bags. I want to really get good at doing that, but I also want to have a bed designated for potatoes as well. So I'd love to hear in the comment section what's been successful for you, what you do, when you plant your potatoes. I always love to hear that because not only does it help me, but it helps others that read the comments. So now that I added some of the fertilizer in here, I just kind of work it into the soil. Now these right here, I'm not gonna plant one over here, but I am gonna feed the soil over here. I'm only gonna plant 5 in this top tier. This one's kind of small, so I'm just gonna leave it off to the side. And what I do is just put the potato seed 2 inches down, and that's pretty much all I do. Now I will add a little bit of straw to the top because it's a little, it's low on some straw, so I will be adding straw before I do that, and then I will quickly water this in outside, and it's that simple. That's all I do, you guys. Real quick before we go ahead and plant the potatoes, I just wanted to show you up close what it looks like. I pretty much made it, this is probably a little bit more than 2.5 or 2 inches, but I just made a nice little hole, and then I will plant my seed potatoes in here and then cover them up with soil. So the fertilizer has already been worked in there, so let's go ahead now and put our seed potatoes in there. Something I want to mention to you real quick before we go ahead and plant these seed potatoes in here. I want to share that this right here with growing potatoes in my green stalks has been a journey for me. So the first couple of times I grew potatoes in here, while I did get some potatoes, I did not get nearly the amount I was hoping for. And because I have that kind of attitude that I don't want to give up until I at least get some sort of success that I'm hoping to get from growing potatoes in my green stalks, I kept trying and trying. And as I shared before, just this past spring summer harvest, I harvested almost 20 pounds. I was 1 ounce shy of potatoes in here. And for me, that's a huge success. And the reason I want to get good at growing potatoes in green stalks, in grow bags, and in a raised bed at some point is for the reason that I want to learn to grow potatoes in various different methods and ways, because I want to really get good at growing potatoes, onions, garlic. These are staples for my household. And so that is my determination, is to learn to grow all those in many different ways. Just this last springtime when I planted the garlic in the fall, I tried them. I had them in the green stalks. I had them in buckets. I had them in raised beds. And while I found the most success with green stalks, I love the fact that I tried different ways of growing them, and just to keep on doing different methods until I find the right one, or a few different methods that work for me. So I have different ways to grow staples for my household. All right, so this is the encouraging Megan in me, that I want to encourage you that if you've tried growing potatoes, if you've tried growing anything, onions, garlic, whatever it is, do not give up and keep trying, because had I given up on trying to grow potatoes in here, because I've done it a couple times, then I wouldn't have had the success that I had this last spring. And that is my encouragement to you, to keep going, and do not allow the word failure to stop you from trying to achieve what it is that you're trying to get out of from your garden and what you're trying to accomplish for you and your family. All right, let's go ahead and plant these potatoes now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I am just pretty much going to put them in here and then put the soil right on top of the seed potato. Now, sometimes if the sprouts are really high, these ones that I have are not too high, I will snip some of the tops off just so it can fit. It was perfectly fine when I did it back in the springtime for my other planting. And so that's what I pretty much am just gonna do again. All right, and then friends, this is the fun part. I just put the soil right back over the potatoes. And then, as I said previously, I'm gonna add a little bit of straw, and I'll give you a close-up of what this looks like too when we're done. Now, I try not to have too much soil around here. I kind of put a little bit more soil towards the pockets of the tier, only because I noticed in my experience when I put the disc on here, if the soil is a little too high, it kind of covers the holes. So I just leave a little bit of an indent. You can see it's probably about 1.5 inches of this that I leave clear of soil. And then sometimes I will sprinkle a little bit of straw over the soil just so that it doesn't create divots. But you also want to make sure that the water penetrates, because if you put too much mulch or straw, then it won't penetrate. And this is just something I do. It's not something that Greenstalk recommends or or anything like that. It's just something that I do that has worked for me in my green stalks. It helps with the backsplash of soil hitting the tiers, and I just found that it has worked very well for me and has kept the soil very healthy. So now that I have covered all of these with the soil, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some of the straw, and I'll show you what straw I use. I've shared it before in previous videos. And then I'm just going to water this in and then do the rest of the tiers, and that is it. So let me go ahead and go get the straw. So I have shared this straw in the past. I absolutely love this. It's from a company called Healthy Straw. I'm not an affiliate with them. They're out of Canada, and I've had a chance to talk to a few people there because I had questions about their straw, and you guys, they were so wonderful to talk to and work with, and it's just a really great straw. Now, it's not something you can just pick up at a store. You would have to look up, just go to their website, and it'll tell you retailers or online stores that you can purchase this. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, is I'm going to sprinkle some of that on the soil now. And here's what it looks like up close so that you can see that it is completely covered. There's no seed potato sprouts showing through the soil. You don't want them showing, you want them completely covered. And now we're going to sprinkle a little bit of straw. I have a little handful of straw, and like I said, I'm only going to sprinkle. I'm not going to do anything super thick because I don't want it to be too thick around this part. And then I will probably do it a little bit heavier right here, and I can show you up close when I'm done. And I will just sprinkle it around the pocket so that the soil is covered all the way around. Here's what it looks like up close. You can see I did not put a ton of straw. It is a very light layer of straw. In fact, you can still see some of the soil peeking through because I don't want it too thick, but I want just enough to cover the soil. This is what has worked for me in my green stalk. So this is what I do with all of them, no matter what it is that I'm planting. The garlic, I actually do put a pretty good layer of straw because obviously it overwinters, but I just wanted to show you what this looks like up close. Now what I do is I just put the top reservoir on top, and then let's get you out of here. And then this just gets watered in, and that's all I do, you guys. I did want to quickly show you because I was talking about this earlier, and this is a good example of it. This is why I like to straw my green stalk. I had previously strawed this green stalk after I harvested the potatoes, but I didn't straw it heavy, and so there were some spots showing soil, and you can see right here that it hit the back of the reservoir. Sometimes it does that on the tiers as well. And you guys, not that this is a really big deal, but this is one of the reasons why I like to straw, so that the soil doesn't hit the back of the reservoir or the tiers. And so I thought I'd just show you an example of what it was, or what it is that I was mentioning earlier. I'm adding this in the video because for some reason I thought I had bought an extra pack of these and that they were in the garage, and I didn't. But these are the bags that I decided to plant a couple of my fall potatoes in. You can see that they're much taller than a normal size grow bag. These are meant for potato growing. This would also be great, by the way, for growing tomatoes, in my opinion, just because you can plant tomato plants deep, real deep. But anyways, I get sidetracked. I just wanted to show you the bags that I decided to try the potatoes in. I'm really hoping that these do very well. You can see they're already starting to pop out of the soil, so that's really exciting. But I am really looking forward to growing them in here. I will give updates on this in my normal backyard garden tour. And then the other ones that I did have that I'll share since I'm out here. So this is the 3-pack of bags that I purchased. So these are square shaped. I know they don't look like square shaped, but what it is they're 3 bags connected, and they're squares, and each square is 20 gallons. And so I did try this in the spring, summertime, and it did good, but I want to try this again with store-bought potatoes probably next spring. I'm not going to do anything now, but I just wanted to quickly show you these because I am growing them in here. trying these out as well as the green stalks. And then, as I said before, I do plan to try to put together a potato bed just for potatoes. Well, friends, I hope that by me showing you how I plant my seed potatoes step by step in my green stalks not only helped you in some way, but maybe encouraged you or inspired you. And as I've said on previous videos, my goal with this channel is to always share with you all what has worked and what hasn't worked. And so when I harvested almost 20 pounds of potatoes in these green stalks late spring, early summer, I cannot tell you the joy and excitement that I got from harvesting those potatoes, especially because I tried season after season and didn't get that many potatoes. And so once I did that and I took mental note of what it was that I did, I said I have to do a video and share with you all. So I hope this was helpful, and I cannot wait to harvest these with you in the next couple months. So thanks for stopping by, and I always look forward to seeing you guys next time. And always remember this, friends. I want you to be encouraged, stay encouraged, and always stay inspired. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.